When it comes to building an entrepreneurial business, you will never reach the goals you want for your business or yourself without systematizing your business. On the Building to Scale podcast, our mission is to help you, the entrepreneurial business owner, find clarity in what is holding you back in your business today, as well as guide you in building a more profitable, scalable, and ultimately saleable business. In today's episode, our own Jeff Chastain looks into the future of your business and breaks down the idea of establishing your pinnacle. Here is Jeff Chastain.
Welcome back for all of our Season 1 listeners, and thank you again to all of our subscribers, both young and old, new and old, here for joining us for this relaunch of the Building to Scale podcast. My name is Jeff Chastain. If we haven't had the opportunity to meet and talk yet, I am host here of the podcast as well as business guide here with Admentus. Now, my team thought quite a bit about if and why and how we should do some kind of a relaunch here of the podcast after 60 plus episodes in what we're now really referring to as Season 1. And the question was just, should we keep going? Should we make adjustments over time, or should we approach this differently here? And the reason we chose to really draw a line in the sand and do a clear relaunch here of the podcast was that we felt that the focus of the podcast had gotten too wide, too generalized. And we wanted to really bring the podcast back in line with the overall mission of the Building to Scale brand. And this is one area where we always coach entrepreneurs, business leaders. Make sure you've got that tightly defined mission to be a measuring stick right there. So our mission really here, if you're not aware, is to help entrepreneurial business leaders find clarity in what's really happening in their business today and to guide them through a plan to build a more profitable, more scalable, and ultimately more saleable business and future for themselves. Now, you see, and I've mentioned this before, it's really my belief that as a small business entrepreneur, you're never going to be able to achieve the life that you want or the goals that you have either for you or your business if you don't systematize that business. So to that end, we are relaunching the Building to Scale podcast today with the true objective really to make sure that every episode revolves around this mission and provides actionable tactics, actionable strategies that you can take back and utilize in your business today. So I invite you first off, subscribe in your favorite podcast player right now. And then if you feel like we're straying from that mission, let us know. Accountability is a big part of any business there. So let us know here with your feedback. We'd love to have your feedback. Now, in addition to the podcast relaunch, we've actually got another resource coming out available for you today that I'll talk about along the end here, along with several more resources that are going to be coming in several weeks. So again, make sure you subscribe right here in the podcast and stay tuned for more information coming there. A little bit of a tease there. But bringing this back around to today's topic, I want to talk about the future, and specifically the future of your business. If I were to ask you, could you tell me without a whole lot of thought or pondering what your business will look like 10 years from today? Now, you see, Bill Gates had a quote that I think's accurate for most people and honestly most businesses. He said, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, yet underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. Now, I know for myself personally, my wife would 100% agree with this because most of my weekend projects always turn into 3 and 4 weekends. And granted, many times I just simply underestimate the work involved or the time required. But at the same time, I'm completely guilty of over-engineering and overdoing things as well. Now, this brings me to really a second quote here that I remind business owners of quite often by Albert Einstein, saying, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And you see, as business owners, we tend to overcomplicate things instead of just finding that right balance right there between doing things the right way, at the same time not overdoing things, not over-engineering things, as I tend to do in many cases, just kind of being that personality. Now, quotes are nice and fun, but that doesn't really meet that bar we set for ourselves a few minutes ago here of providing you with the actionable tactics, the actionable strategies here of every episode or in each episode. So let me bring this back around to the idea, the concept of a pinnacle in your business. If you ask the dictionary, a pinnacle is the high point, a peak, the summit of a mountain. And I often describe the process of really growing and scaling a business as a climb, as a journey up a mountain. And with that climb, we need to have a peak. We need to have a goal. We need to have something that we're trying to reach on that journey, kind of a thing. You don't just go climb a mountain to climb a mountain. You climb a mountain to get to the top. And when it comes to business, what is this pinnacle? Now, Jim Collins was really kind of the originator of this idea in his books. It was Built to Last and then Good to Great, both. He touched on it, where he describes it as a BHAG was his concept, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And some examples you're probably familiar with include John Kennedy, President John Kennedy's declaration back in the 60s that was the U.S. is going to put a man on the moon, bring him back, which was probably very important to the astronauts, by the end of the decade. And then another one I like to refer to, kind of being my techie background there, is the statement by Bill Gates saying that in the early days of Microsoft, their goal was to put a computer, again, running Windows, of course, on every desk in every home in America. In both of these cases, at the time, these were outlandish statements. I mean, nobody had ever landed on the moon. We simply didn't have the technology or the expertise there. In Microsoft's case, people would have kind of looked at it at the time and said, why do we need a computer? Yet, of course, today, most of us have multiple computers at home, and a computer, i.e. a phone, in our pocket right now that's got 10 times the compute power of anything in that day. But the thing is, at the time both of those statements were made, both those goals were set, they were huge goals. At the same time, a pinnacle, your pinnacle here for your business, should be more than just a goal. Your pinnacle should be so big, so out there that, honestly, while you may not admit it in public, there's probably definitely days that you don't have any idea how in the world we're going to achieve this or how in the world we're going to get there. Your pinnacle should be a driving force in your business. It should excite your team, and honestly, it should scare your competitors at the same time. They should be sitting there looking at you thinking you're crazy for what you're trying to achieve, but at the same time, they should be afraid of what it means for them if you actually achieve it. Looking at this from a people perspective, your pinnacle should be something that honestly helps you attract the right people to your business. Your team should get excited about this. They should all be bought into this goal, this mission that you're on. They should want to be a part of this and feel like they are a part of it. And at the same time, it should repel the wrong people from your business. If somebody doesn't buy into this mission, this goal that you're trying to reach here, they're not going to be supporting the team, and they're not the right person for your business. And then lastly, kind of along those lines, your pinnacle should serve as a measuring stick for your business. So we've all heard of kind of the old shiny object syndrome, which inevitably raises its head in business. A new business opportunity, a new strategy, a new marketing approach, etc., kind of a thing. And by having a clearly defined pinnacle, you can always ask the question, does this opportunity that's presented itself move us closer or help us to reach our pinnacle right now? Now, I always kind of touched on most of this today here, but I always find it kind of useful to come back and break things down into clear points, clear lists, just from an actionable standpoint. So here are the 5 criteria that when I'm talking with a client about their pinnacle, I always apply these 5 criteria to say, okay, is this really a good pinnacle and not just a mission or an aspirational statement? So this is where make sure taking notes, because there'll be a test here at the end. First, your pinnacle, again, should have some level of uncertainty. In other words, we only see a 70% chance today that we could actually achieve this. There should be some question to it. It must be connected to your underlying business strategy. Why would you set off on a direction of a goal when your strategy's in the opposite direction? Third, it should be clear and compelling. It doesn't do any good if your team kind of looks at it and says, I don't know what that means, or, great, that's a nice statement, but we're not excited about it. Fourth, and this one to me is a really big one in my book, it's measurable. How do you know when you've accomplished it? How do you expect, or when do you expect really to accomplish it? Because otherwise it turns into, again, more of just this aspiration or honestly a potential restatement of your mission here. And then fifth, last here, it must be long-term. So I typically coach business owners to look 10 to 15 years out. This is not something we're going to achieve tomorrow. This is something we've really got to work towards. So now you've got all five. Let's put this to a test here real quick. In the book Scaling Up by Werner Harnisch, he provides a handful of examples. I think there was 9 or 10 in there, but I pulled just a couple of them here. First one from Google says to organize the world's information. So what do you think on that one? To me, obviously, this is a big aspiration statement kind of a thing. I could see how this would excite the right people that Google wants to come work with them, obviously. But what's missing to me is the measurable part. It's like, how do we know if we have organized the world's information? For that matter, what does the world's information even really mean? Is that like every single piece of paper in the world, or what does that really mean? So how do we know if we've accomplished this, or if what we're working towards really helps us accomplish that? So personally, to me, this sounds more missional, more aspirational to me. But again, I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on that. Now, a second example here was from Facebook. So obviously know who Facebook is, but theirs was to connect the world. And you can probably guess what I'm going to say already from looking at this. While it sounds nice and fuzzy, it's like, okay, what does this really mean? What does connect the world really mean? That can mean so many different things to so many people, and again, not measurable in the least bit. Now, one more fun one here from Nike. Theirs was crush Adidas. Now, talk about a rallying cry for the troops. And realistically, I can even see this as kind of a measuring stick for sure. You can sit there and look, okay, is this new product that we're putting together going to put us ahead of our competitor of Adidas? Or is this going to put us in a category of one separate from Adidas? So it's definitely clear and compelling. And it does have some measurability aspects to it, although some respects I'd say that's even still a little vague. But even there, it's like, are we looking for market share to say that we crushed Adidas? Do we want them out of business? What's really our objective here with doing this? So again, give me your thoughts, but now here's where the test comes in. It's your turn to be the judge and provide feedback. Now, for the Building to Scale brand, we eat our own dog food around here. We've got our own Pinnacle set and defined. And I'm going to read it off here. I want your feedback on this. So our Pinnacle for the Building to Scale brand, again, is to coach 500 small business entrepreneurs to achieve an average of 20% year-over-year growth in their business while working less doing so. So what do you think now? Does it meet the 5 criteria? Is it aspirational enough? Is it exciting enough? Does it cause you to buy into it, kind of a thing? So going back to the beginning of the conversation here, I mentioned that we've got a new resource available specifically for our small business entrepreneurs out there in the audience. We have opened up a brand new group, a new community, aptly entitled Building to Scale for Small Business Entrepreneurs. And the goal and the purpose, the reason here for doing this is to be a place for entrepreneurial small business owners to really collaborate, to share actionable strategies and tactics, to ask questions, to simply help each other grow and scale without a lot of the noise, without a lot of the spam, without a lot of the other stuff that goes in other online groups. So with that, you've got 3 steps here for your homework today, for taking away from this episode. First off, go check out buildingtoscale.com/group. And from that page, there's a quick little form there. Request an invite to join the community. Second now, real simple. We mentioned our Pinnacle a minute ago. That's posted up in the group right now. So go over there and give us your feedback. We want to hear your feedback. Does it meet the criteria? Is it a worthy goal? So again, give us your feedback right there in the community. And then last, I want you to post your Pinnacle. I always say that a goal is not made public, or if a goal is not made public, it has no accountability to it. So step out, share it with your peers, honestly inspire us, let us help you with that kind of a thing, but go post your Pinnacle out there and let's share, see what other people are doing. So with that, I'm going to sign off here for this week. Again, if you've received value today, I simply ask that you leave a rating right here in your favorite podcast playing. What that does is it helps other entrepreneurs find the show there. So the more ratings we can get, the more feedback that we can get. Obviously, we can tailor this to what you need, but it just helps other people find that. And then second, make sure you go join that community. Give us some feedback on our Pinnacle. Share your Pinnacle. We'd love to hear from you then. So until next week, again, this is Jeff Chastain signing off here with a reminder, just take one step today. Take one step towards building a more profitable, more scalable, and ultimately more saleable business for both you and your future there. In the meantime, take care.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Building to Scale podcast. If you found this episode valuable, please take a moment and leave us a rating in your favorite podcast player, as that helps other entrepreneurs find the show. Also, make sure you join the community at buildingtoscale.com/group. And when you do, remember to give us some feedback on our Pinnacle. Thanks again for listening.